Let's go.
Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I will be joined by Sam very shortly, but I didn't want to leave you guys waiting any longer. Had to jump on and get on with the podcast. As you know, Tuesday night is Fans Forum night, and as always, we have plenty to talk about. I've titled this show, Where Do We Go From Here? Because it has been a pretty fraught, I would say, 3 weeks since the season started. What with transfer dealings on and off the pitch, players wanting to leave, potentially not players able to join the club, then on the pitch issues with results not going our way, and seemingly the players not playing particularly well. So lots and lots of things to discuss on that front. Then we managed to get some deals over the line on deadline day, and I want to just see your opinions. I want to get Sam's opinions on where those players are going to fit in, how we see those players impacting Aston Villa, and where do we go from here? We've got some big games to come. How soon are these players going to hit the ground running, and what impact do we think that they're going to have? Let's bring the main man in. Sam, great to see you, mate. After our therapy session on Sunday night, which was, I enjoyed it in a weird kind of way, but yeah, how are you feeling now?
You enjoyed it in a weird kind of way. It sounds like every girlfriend I've ever had. I'm good. I've definitely calmed down. I don't know about you, but it was a nice little venting session for us on, what was it, Sunday?
Sunday night, yeah. It seemed like the same for everybody else as well, because got some good comments on it, and I feel like a lot of people wanted to get everything off their chest in terms of the performance and, you know, what the situation was for Aston Villa at the time. I do want to shout out, we have hit the big 6K, 6,000 subscribers. I've obviously put that on social media, and yes, all thanks to you, Sam. We were almost there, but after Sunday, our therapy session, all of a sudden we just rocketed past that number. But yeah, amazing stuff. And I know I shout out these milestones, but it does mean a lot in terms of hitting that, you know, that next 1,000. It's mad to think that. I know we always tend to talk about this, but when we were doing the shows with like one person watching, and now we're like 6,000 subscribers later and keep growing, and it's obviously the support that we get, the people, the comments, the interaction. It's just fantastic, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, I said this on the same day that we hit that 6K. It was like, I remember when we were doing the podcast to literally no one was listening, and we were just having a chat. And I remember when we didn't even have a channel, we didn't even have our own channel. We were, you know, part of something else, and it wasn't our own. And then we kind of went off, and, you know, you decided to start fresh. And at that point I was like, oh, but Rich, 7 people listened yesterday, and we want to lose the audience. And look at us here now. We've got, you know, such like a lovely, I don't want to say following because it makes it sound important, but we've got such a great sort of group of people who always seem to be in the chat and watch us pretty religiously. And despite the fact that half of them disagree with me and the other half just don't want to listen to me, I think it's mint.
Really.
I think it's mint. And you know, I know a lot of people have been asking for me to be more positive, and all I'm going to say is that's not going to happen. So thank you for subscribing. And amazing. 6K is just ridiculous. Like we're just this two blokes who love the Villa and, you know, just talk absolute waffle. And we don't claim to be ITKs, which is very popular at the moment. But we're just waffling and talking about our opinions, and people seem to be receptive of it. So thank you very much, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support. Please do continue, hit the like button, as Michael has said in the chat there, and do subscribe if you're new to the channel. And yeah, keep your comments flowing in. Obviously, fans forum is your night. Get your questions in. I've started a few questions already. We obviously want to talk the new signings. As I said, I've titled it "Where Do We Go From Here?" More to the point in terms of, I guess, not necessarily results wise and the games to come, because we'll do those previews, but just in terms of what we think the signings will potentially bring to Aston Villa, where we will play them, how they will impact the team. So let's start with, I guess, the one that I'm most excited about, and I think we talked about him. He'd been mooted at the start of the transfer window. I think always been known that he wanted a move to progress his career, and it seems like Aston Villa is a good club for him, and that's Harvey Elliott. I'm quite excited about this signing. I think he's had time at Liverpool. Obviously, not quite broken in to that first team, but had moments, had impact, scored goals. But I guess wanting to establish himself as a real player now. How do you see it panning out for Harvey Elliott? Are you excited about this signing?
I I think it's a really nice signing. It's a really nice player to have, and I guess we can caveat like all of the the chat that we're going to do about the different players in their transfer window that have come in with. I don't think that the areas that we've strengthened apart from Sancho are necessarily where we need to do that. Like I'm just absolutely dismayed that we haven't signed a right back. And I know that we got Lindelof on the final day, so that kind of centre back is bolstered. But I look at sort of Wally Watkins up front, and if he gets injured, I wonder whether we have the strength in depth. Like we saw it against Palace on Sunday, we didn't have a recognised striker on the bench because Gassam was already playing. And you do wonder if something happens to Watkins and what's going to happen. I know Gassam can go up front, but despite Harvey Elliott not really being the sort of position that I feel like we needed the most, it's such a nice signing to have. He's got bags of talent. He scores some wonderful goals, and we've only seen him quite infrequently in the Liverpool shirt. And the things that he's managed to do has been with very, very limited game time. And it's just, he gets these moments, and more often than not, he shines and he sparkles. And we've said this before on the pod, it's really difficult. It's really, really difficult to do that and to play a form when you're not have a consistent run of games. So, there are the two players that I really like at Liverpool that I thought we might have had a shot at signing. One was Harvey Elliott. The other one was Curtis Jones, who I think is just an absolute brilliant player. And I know he's getting more minutes for Liverpool now, but he would have been an absolute brilliant signing. But Harvey Elliott fits the mold. He's young, he's versatile, he can play in different positions, and he's got bags and bags of quality. I think the only thing that I don't love about the deal is the buyback clause and the sell-on clause. I don't like the fact that Liverpool have the option to buy him back should we sign him. I feel like it restricts us, and it will make us set like buyback clauses always make you nervous. I remember with Douglas Luiz, and Man City, it's just like
it's like every good game that they have, it almost makes it more likely that the club are going to sign him back.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one of I remember when the option expires and everyone's just sitting there with bated breath. And but yeah, Harvey Elliott's a good signing, man. He brings quality, he brings something different. He's young, he's energetic, he's enthusiastic. Make no bones about it. Despite him saying in his welcoming video that it's every kid's dream to play for Villa, I think he probably has lofty ambitions, and he's going to need to perform at Villa to break into the England set up. And maybe if he wants to move on to somewhere else in his career, or if he does want to go back to Liverpool and stake a claim there, maybe with Mo Salah retiring soon or whatever, he's going to have to perform his heart out. So he's got plenty of incentive. He's not going to sit here, rest on his laurels, and he's going to really want to make an impact and prove for the first time that with consistent football he can be a star in the Premier League.
Yeah. Willie says, first of all, big congrats on the 6K. Elliot and Sancho will, I think, do big things for Villa. We'll get on to Sancho in a second, and thanks for the congrats. Costa News Surveying says, the problem with bringing in loan players is that the manager will constantly have to rebuild a team. Like last year, losing Rashford and Asensio, the team needed to be rebuilt again. So next year, it's the same. Is there I'll come on to some more comments, but just quickly, is Sancho just a loan, or is there an option to buy on his?
Sancho's just a loan, no option.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that is one of the concerns. Definitely, I agree. Michael says Elliot could be our Diaby and get the best out of Rodgers and Watkins.
I hope he's not Diaby. I hope he's better than Diaby.
Yeah. Emery's Kingdom said 100% Sam, right back is what I wanted, and yes, disappointed that that's where we are getting hurt the most every game. 100%. And Rob said Liverpool would never agree without a buyback clause. Yeah, I would have thought so. I think they want to keep their options open. Emery says, if Sam keeps saying everything I'm thinking, I won't need to watch the pod when he's on.
I'll watch anyway. I'll slip up every now and then.
You can just nod your head in agreement. Yeah, Ange said, given the constraints, surely we have to be content. Absolutely. I do think so in a way. But like Sam said there, certain positions and certain things that I think we need to strengthen beyond the right back, I don't feel like we've quite done that yet. But in terms of options, bodies, and you looked at the bench that we had on Sunday, I mean, we certainly need some players. Absolutely. And yes, Sharik with a super chat, £2, 6K. Don't forget us OG fans when you are big time, mate. We will never forget you. Never forget you and your erudite comments. Definitely keeping us grounded, mate. Absolutely. Sancho, then, how do you feel about him?
Oh, it's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one. I don't know about Sancho, I'm kind of on the fence with it because like 3 years ago, he was the Dogs and he was at Borussia Dortmund and Man United were pushing for that move. And you just thought, what a player. He looked good for England. He looked good for Dortmund. He looked sharp. He could take on a man. But it's just kind of that Man United thing where he just has looked disinterested. He's gone to Chelsea. It's not really worked out. He went back to Dortmund for a little bit and it worked out kind of okay for him there, but not enough for them to want to re-sign him. And I just think it's a massive risk. And again, I posted about this on Twitter actually, and or Instagram, I can't remember which one, but if you want to find out, go and follow me. I posted about it and I was like, for the outlay that we're putting for him. So what is it? 80% of a reported 200 grand a week. So what's it? 160,000 pound a week we're spending on him. The amount of goals and assists that he would need to return in order for that to be worthwhile, considering the financial restraints that we've got and how much we've done and how much we've kind of not hurt ourselves, but like kind of cut off our nose in selling players like Ramsey and giving players away for practically nothing just to get them off the wage book. Like how hard we've worked to bring that wage bill down. I'm starting to sound like George now.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, well, if he comes in and does bugger all or gets injured or, doesn't have the right attitude, it's such a costly mistake. And I think it's whatever comment you brought up earlier where it was like, what's the strategy here for Villa? And I know it's just, we're trying to get through till tomorrow. We're like, we're just trying to pay the bills today and worry about, a structure and a strategy for saving money tomorrow. But it's one of those where I wonder if we're spending 160 grand allegedly on Sancho, could we not have brought back Grealish? As someone who, has an affinity with the club and, is kind of visibly desperate to revive his career, even though he's a little bit older. If it's just a loan anyway, because there's no chance we're going to sign Jadon Sancho. The reason that we didn't sign him permanently is because he didn't want to join permanently. He made that very clear in the when he was part of that Martinez deal. So I wonder if he was the best option. I kind of look in world football and I say Jadon Sancho has the potential to be an incredible signing for us, but it's for the money that we spent there. We not got two other players on loan for 80 grand each a week, and maybe bolstered a couple of positions because he has to play now. He has to play, and he has to play every week. And I don't know. It's one of those. I'm not saying it's a good deal. I'm not saying it's a bad deal. I'm just saying we don't have enough information right now to be able to say either way. It's a risk, is all I'll say.
Yeah, I'm just going to go through some of the comments before I kind of have my opinion. And where do I start?
Wait, before you do that, the other point I want to make very quickly is one of the things that we isolated is that we need pace in this team, and Jadon Sancho is not quick.
No. So, yeah, I'll come to my comments, my thoughts on it in a second. But Curry said, can't believe we blew our whole budget on Sancho. 0 interested clubs when we paid a fee plus 80%. I didn't want... Heck, but who would have rather had him than this awful arrangement? Who's that? Oh, Jack. I think that might be Jack.
Oh, Jack.
Yeah, Emery's Kingdom. Sancho, if we did want to sign him, we can't this year. Maybe if it goes well, we buy him next season. Philip said, we'll look forward to watching Emery keep Elliott and Sancho on the bench for the next 10 games.
Probably true.
Emery's Kingdom does say, though, if anyone can get Sancho back firing, Emery will. Kevin said, kind of okay. Sancho was superb at Dortmund. Dream Villain said Rashford was a massive risk as well. He's been at basket case clubs, to be fair, but it's his fault too, says Gary. Rob says Sancho loan is worth taking a risk on, given that we can't afford any decent fees. Aston Villa 1874 said he did well at Chelsea, and I think he's out of contract next year with Man United. Should gel with Maatsen and Marlon, says Gary. Kevin says, do you like any forwards, Sam? Well, you like Greenwich.
Well, I think all the forwards that I've spoken about have scored a combined 6 goals in the last 20 years. So, no. how many
you like Duran? You're still bitter about Duran.
Oh, Mr. I like Duran. Yeah. Do you know what? For everyone who's talking about Sancho and how well he is, get me his stats up. And I know that stats don't define a player, but as an attacking player, how many goals and assists has he had in the last 2-3 seasons, and where?
Yeah, well, I think I did a bit of it on a transfer talk. I did a bit of a thing on Sancho because obviously we've been interested in him before the deadline day. I think it was something that we were actively trying to do, obviously, and it just became available properly on deadline day. So I did a feature on him, and he did okay at Chelsea, and he played in fits and starts, I think, but I'm excited to see what he can do, and I agree with Emery's Kingdom. If anyone can get the best out of him, then it's Unai Emery, and maybe it will be good for him to have a set structure and a particular way of playing and real sort of tight guidelines of how to operate, because maybe he needs that to kind of flourish. But in my opinion, I don't know what he's actually... I don't know what he does. I don't know what he's actually brilliant at. Like you've said there yourself, he isn't particularly quick. He doesn't assist a lot. He doesn't score a lot. He can beat a man. Don't get me wrong. He's a pretty good dribbler of the ball. Whenever I've seen him, I've been worried and concerned about his body language, about the way that he approaches the game. I always look at players when... This is what I used to not like about Jadon Philogene. Every time he stepped onto the pitch, his sleeves were over his hands and his shoulders were hunched like this. And this is exactly the impression I get from Jadon Sancho. So you want to be stepping, particularly as a winger. Yeah, tracking back. As a winger, you've got to portray that you're the best player on the pitch. You are going to beat your fullback every time. And if I was a defender, if I was a fullback and I saw Sancho coming onto the pitch like that, I'd be like, as soon as I smash into him, he doesn't want to know. And that's what you've got to show as a player. So I want to see like a real confident and firing Jadon Sancho, of course. But I need, not that he cares, but I want to be convinced that he's actually a good player. Because I'm not convinced. I've seen like flashes. I've seen, to me, he's like a FIFA player. If you do a couple of combinations on FIFA, you do like a couple of step overs and a drag back, and you haven't actually gone around the player. You've just shown a few tricks and skills that you can do. That's what I see with Jadon Sancho. I want to see him like go after people, beat them, like go at a real pace and actually show that you want to be a top class player, because I am yet to see it.
I think as well with Jadon Sancho is he obviously has the ability like to take on a man and to do special things. It's a reason that he got such notoriety so early on in his career, and that move from Man City to Dortmund, and he was doing incredible things. It's not that he doesn't have it in him, and I know that Kevin's saying that he's miles better than Philogene, but we're
That's
not
not the point
comparing
I'm
him.
making. I
Yeah,
know he's miles better. I'm talking about body language and
about
how
body language.
approach the game. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and the other thing is there was someone mentioned this on Twitter and said, "Oh, if anyone's going to get Sancho back to his best, it's Emery." And I replied to their post and said, Emery's got 15 other players that he needs to get back to their best. Can we not, like, not every player can be a work in progress. Not everyone can be underperforming. And I mean, look at that squad and everyone who played against Palace, like, who's playing at their best? Anyone. I'll take one name. No one's playing at their best. So Emery doesn't just have to lift Jadon Sancho now. He has to get the best out of everyone. And at some point, it's going to be too much to do. You can't revive 16 players' career at one time. And I'm not being dramatic about that. Not people's careers aren't over or in shambles, but like he needs to get Ollie Watkins firing again. He needs to get Tielemans back on his creative side. He needs to teach Matty Cash how to pass the ball 5 yards. He's got Martinez, who's in absolute disarray. I don't know what is going on with him, what he's going to do, whether he's going to be reintegrated. He's got Ezri Konsa, who's as out form at Villa as he's ever been. And you go on and on Maatsen, who he needs to teach elements of the game because he's still so young. Gassan is new. He needs to teach him. It's so many players. Anana not at his best. Kamara not at his best. Wendy has been exiled. It's like it's just so much for him to do, and he has to work on all these players at one time. And I wonder if it wouldn't have just been better to bring someone in who's flying high, someone who's confident, someone who, and I know that we're restricted and we're talking about in theory, but even just someone who's like just been doing well. And I think that's probably Harvey Elliott. He's someone who's confident. He's been performing well. He's not really in down in the dumps, but it's just a lot.
Yeah. That being said, I think it is very good to get certainly some options in, and certainly a bit of freshness in the squad and a few fresh faces. Players have gone out on international duty now, and a couple of players in Sancho and in Elliott that will want to impress and will want to get their names and faces back in that England squad reckoning. So, on that sense, it's definitely an opportunity for both of those players to really, really push on.
Yeah, 100%. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't sound like much, but they're better than nothing. Do you know what I mean? They're actually, if you'd have told us 2 seasons ago we were signing Jadon Sancho, then, we'd have been buzzing. And even now, Harvey Elliott, people are very excited about it. It's really, really exciting to have some options, and especially players that can play wide as well. The question is whether Emery's gonna push out his system a little bit and stop playing so narrow. But it's nice to have those options, and 2 wildly talented players. Like, don't get it wrong. They've both been seen to do amazing things with the football. So it's not that they don't have the talent. It's about whether we can get the best out of them, whether they want to be here long term, because at the end of the day, they are both still loans right now, and whether whether we can utilize that and fit them into the team. Like, where are they going to go? But like I say, absolutely good options to have. And considering where we were looking at when the transfer window closed, it's quite nice to have them in.
100%. Just in terms of that, and where actually I'll get some comments in first. Kevin says he will thrive at Villa, in my opinion. Hope he does, mate. Absolutely hope he does. Costa News Spain says we're turning into a short-term quick fix loan club with hope of a quick fix with the back four, and that hasn't changed. If anyone's read Jacob Tanswell's article, it is very interesting because it almost points to a slight change in Emery's thought process in that he wants players who are ready made and can go straight into the first team. So he does kind of put a stop to this rough diamond sort of player who's young. I think Harvey Elliott does fit that bill, to be fair, but you know, you look at these loan players, you look at what he was trying to do, bringing Marco Asensio in, like worked so hard to get him, worked hard to get Lucas Paqueta in and has liked him for a long time. He's moving more towards wanting players that can just jump into the first team straight away, and maybe slightly away from the 20, 21-year-old who's had a bit of experience and wants to be polished into the finer product.
But again, it's the wrong. I keep saying this. It's the wrong mentality, in my opinion. I'm not gonna say I know more than Unai Emery about this, and maybe it's because of the limited amount of options. But that's not how transfers should work. It needs to be a mix. You need to mix youth and experience. You need to buy exciting prospects who you believe can push on. You need to blend that in with more experienced players who are more established and can jump straight into the first team. It's why is it one or the other? Why is it one or the other? Go and sign a John Duran, but also sign a Tielemans in the same year. Do you know what I mean? Like, sign someone who's established, but sign someone who's got potential. Like this, it's the same thing when we talk about Emery's formation. Like, we play this way. Well, yeah, but sometimes that's okay. But sometimes it's okay to play another way. And it's the same with transfers. It can't just be one transfer policy. It's more nuanced than that. Surely he's not just going right, not more signing any more youngsters, only signing established players. There's got to be a balance, and you look at any club in the world, like even Arsenal. Look at what Arsenal do. They're integrating Max Holloway and they're buying Gyökeres and they're buying younger players and more established players, and it's a blend, and that's how you succeed, and that's how you balance the books. And it doesn't. I think the worry is that none of this seems particularly well thought out. I don't know what you feel, but I just get the Sancho signing on the last day, and the fact that we went for Paqueta and didn't get him, and then got Harvey Elliott, kind of seems like, and it's on the last day of the transfer window as well. Like, I get until the end of July when we couldn't spend anything because we need to balance the books and submit our financials, but it kind of all seems a bit last minute, a bit panicky, and a bit who can we get through the door, and I know that our hands are tied, I know it is, but there has to be an element of mismanagement here, no?
Sharik said Max Holloway at Arsenal. Yeah. It's Max Dowman.
What's his name?
Max Dowman.
Whatever his name is. Yeah. He's 15. Look,
I think Rob's saying we're so negative. Look, we're not negative. We're saying that they're good signings, right? Sancho's a good signing, and Elliott, I'm really excited about. I think he's a really good signing. You have to say what you're seeing at the moment, right? We're not playing very well. We've had players who've been kind of forced to be sold, if we're to believe what Jacob Tanswell written in Jacob Ramsey, and we've had players that have wanted to be leaving since January. So there has been some issues that aren't quite right in the team, right? And our hands have been tied by PSR, SCR, this other rule, financial constraints rule that UEFA have put in, so which is more strict than the PSR. So I understand all of that, right? And Damien Vidagani put a really nice, good post out, thanking the recruitment staff and saying how hard they've worked. However, like you said, Sam, there has to be a bit of accountability on their part in terms of moving players on or not moving players on when they maybe should have done, or not being able to bring in players that they've been able to do. You have to, in every situation, you have to look at yourself first. You can't just say, oh, well, that's happened because it was something else. You've got to look at, they're paid a lot of money to do this job. It's not like you just, oh yeah, it's fine. Just get on with it. You've got to look at what you haven't done and how you can do it better. So that's all I'm saying. And yeah, I agree with you, right? At the start of the transfer window, they wouldn't have had signing Victor Lindelof on a free transfer as their number one choice. Otherwise, they would have done it straight away. I get you. There's a bit of waiting around by players and agents to see what other offers come in. But ultimately, the right back situation, a right-footed centre-back situation. Yes, it's been plugged. The gap has been plugged with Victor Lindelof, but it's not the ideal signing. A pacey winger. Yes, we've got Jadon Sancho who has other skill set. I absolutely agree, but we haven't got another striker. Like there's parts of the and that might be able to be solved in January, right? But I'm just saying what I'm seeing right now, and there's still slight issues that I'm concerned about. You can say that's negative or not. I like the players; they're good players, but there's I don't like. There's still parts of it. I want to see how they would fit in. I want to know, like, is Sancho purely going to play off the left? So what then does that mean for Gesson? Where's he going to play? Where is Harvey Elliott going to play? Is he going to link up with Morgan Rogers as the two number 10s? In which case, is Gesson going to be the support striker for Ollie Watkins? What does that do for Daniel Marlon? It's, what do you see? Where do you see them fitting in? And Shaz said we should have signed Max Holloway.
He's made another good point as well. We talk about disorganization, things just not feeling right. Why has Elliot got the number 9?
Yeah,
that bothers me. The game's gone. Like, why is a central midfielder wearing the number 9?
Yeah,
not for me. I don't know where they fit in. I think, is it one of those things where we brought in what we can and then we see how they fit in later, or I think the people are saying,
yeah, is it like competition and just hopefully refreshing it will bring more out of Morgan Rogers, more out of.
But can you spend 160 grand a week in our position on competition, right? Like you spend that kind of money on a player, they need to come in and be the star player and need to build your team around them, and it doesn't seem like a competition signing. And I think people have said, well, we were restricted, we have to wait to see who we sold and this and that, but did we have to wait until deadline day? Deadline day with like not a massive idea of who we were signing, who we weren't. Like, Sancho wasn't linked at all until like the day before, when the Martinez news started coming out, and I think that's when we first heard about it. So, I mean, look, it is what it is, and to mirror a lot of the comments that we've got in the chat, I'm just glad it's over. Like, I'm so glad that the transfer window was closed and we could just focus and say, look, this is what we've got now. No more incomings, no more outgoings, bar Emi Martinez going to Saudi Arabia or something like that, for the windows that are still open. But it's one of those where this is our squad now, and we're going to have to take that and do the best that we can with it. And that is refreshing, and that is good to know. And it's one of those, it's kind of a cliche to say, whoever's in is in, and we now have to back them. And Jadon Sancho, like I've got reservations about him. I don't know if he's going to work out or not, but I'm going to back him the same that we did with Rashford. Like, he's got all of my support, and I want to see him go and absolutely not prove me wrong, because I haven't said he's not going to do it, but I want him to just go and show his class and show his quality and a naked improvement. And you're right. Again,
and we want to see a naked improvement. Yeah,
you can't have the flange name and then start talking about naked improvement, because Rich is very suggestible. He might say something he shouldn't. But yeah, I want him to go and smash it. I want Elliot to come in and do amazing things, and hopefully he plays more than 10 games, and we'll have to buy him. So it's really positive. But we're here to talk about it and kind of scrutinize it a little bit. There's no point in us just coming on here and saying, yeah, really good, really happy with all of that. Right, all right, guys, see you later. A 3-minute podcast done. You have to kind of like, you have to dissect it a little bit and say, well, look, how exactly is this?
We want to get everyone's opinions, and I know I'm at work all day, but I'm still thinking about Aston Villa most of the time. So yeah, it's always on my mind. And he's Villa's number 9. So with that in mind, with the new signings in mind, what would be your number 1 starting 11 right now? Then do any of them get in straight away to that first starting 11?
They have to, right? I think Sancho goes out on the left. I think Elliot, where does he play on the right? Because for me, I think unless you drop Rogers, and I'm hoping, there's been a lot of talk about Sancho and Harvey Elliott like being mates with Rogers, and Rogers kind of like being boosted. he's got his friends back because he was so sad that JJ left. Now he's got some friends in the dressing room again that he's excited to see, and maybe that will perk him up. And now the transfer window's over and he can't go, it maybe that will help him start playing well again. So I want to see Rodgers is one of, if not our best player when he's on form, right? So we want to see him back. And long term, you have Marco Biesel. I think you have to try and keep him in there, which would put Elliott out to the right, and that begs the question: where's McGinn going to play if Kamara is fit and Tielemans is fit, and maybe Gassan does end up playing sort of second fiddle to Ollie Watkins, but you need to rotate as well. We've got a lot of games this season.
Yeah,
a lot of games, so you have to.
I'd quite like to see him up front, actually. Europa League games to maybe get him warmed up there, and then really maybe pushing Ollie Watkins, because like you said, if Watkins has not been great this start of this season and we need other options, we definitely do. Again, if he gets injured as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what we need to do to stave off injury as well is to rotate. And Emery doesn't have a great history of doing that, even when we had a really big squad. Last season, second half of the season, our bench was an embarrassment of riches. We had options for days, and he didn't really rotate as well as he should have. But we know how Ollie Watkins deals with competition. He doesn't like it. But at the same time, he's had no competition, and he's not been thriving so far. Admittedly, a lack of service. So I think some of these players do need like a bit of a kick up the backside and to say, well, look, you either perform and want to be here, or we'll find someone else who does want to be here. And there are plenty of players whilst we're still in Europe who will want to come. And I think we are clearly working to fix our financial situation. I think another season in Europe with the net positive revenue that we've made from transfers and reducing wage bills down and stuff like that, I think it will help. So, all we need to do, and it's just easier said than done, we need to make sure that we are in Europe next year and we don't get relegated this year. That's our best shot is to win the Europa League. But obviously you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You need to, we need to do a Spurs, and even if we're shit, we still need to pull something out of the bag.
Yeah. Rob said, at least with Sancho, Rodgers, Elliott and Watkins, teams have more to worry about. Absolutely agree. Chemistry is the making with them four. Hopefully. Kevin says 5th and the Europa League win. Want to bet against us? Well, we'll see about that.
I'd bet against that right now.
Yeah.
If you want to put money on the line, DM me and we'll talk about it.
Steven said Watkins not being great. Poor bloke hardly had a pass to him. Lol. He hasn't, but I still argue you've got to go and look for the ball, man. You've got to go and do something. You've got to try and impact the game, and that's what I want to see from some of our players, definitely. Rob said Marlon and Gesson are the ones that confuse me, to be honest. But I do think maybe Gesson will play more in a forward position now. But yeah, I do like that that thought process of Rodgers. Let's say Rodgers and Elliott as the two number 10s. For now, Sancho out on the left. Then you've got Kamara and Tielemans, I would imagine, if you were to pick your number 1. Then you'd have Martinez in goal, which we'll come on to in a second. Cash at the moment. Konsa.
Really?
Well,
are you sure Aiden don't want to play there?
Yeah, I know. Tristan Rowe's gone out on loan to a French League 2 team. Ligue 2. So he can't play it right back no more. But yeah, Cash, Konsa, Mings at the minute, I would say. And then I'd probably still say Luca Dean at left back. And then obviously Watkins up front. That would probably be my number 1 lineup at the minute. But
the only change I'd make is I change Dean from Maatsen. I think Maatsen just offers you more attacking going forward. And we play so heavily off the left. You need someone else who's going to overlap, and he has the energy, and I think he's actually got a lot of quality going forward, Maatsen. He's weaker defensively than Dean is. So it depends on the game, right? So
yeah. Guys, we have 300 of you in the chat, which is just absolutely amazing. And we have recently hit 6,000 subscribers. So thank you to you all. But please do continue to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and help us continue to grow. We're on the road to 10,000 subs. So like, subscribe, and keep your comments flowing. Now, you mentioned about players getting a kick up the backside. And if you want to be here, then play like you want to be here. Well, one player who didn't want to be here but is still here is Emi Martinez. Now, so we've had loads of questions. I think Michael Huggins asked the question: how do we go about integrating Emi Martinez in the squad? Or back in the team? Sorry, what would you do?
You put him in. He's the best goalkeeper we've got. He's not going anywhere, and as long as he's not sulking about it, you find a way to reintegrate him, and and his performances will dictate whether he stays in the team. Like, we all like Bizot, but let's be honest, Emi Martinez is a caliber of goalkeeper that we probably never had, and right now he's the best option that we've got. You have to play him, and I don't. There's a lot of talk about what kind of sparked this transfer saga. A lot of people are saying Emi Martinez wanted the move. From January, a lot of people have said, Villa told Emi Martinez to instruct his agent to find a new club because we had to sell him for financial reasons. And the truth is, there's probably a bit of both, right? It's probably a bit of, Villa making him aware, look, we don't really know what's going on this summer. We may have to sell you. Be prepared if you want to have a chat. And Emi Martinez saying, well, actually, do you know what? I think I can go and get a big payday somewhere else here. And it's probably a bit of both. And I did a bit of a lengthy tweet about 20 minutes ago. Please feel free to go and check that out, about how much loyalty we are owed by our players and what we expect versus what we deserve. And on the flip side, how much loyalty do the players get from us, right? And, in my tweet, I said, if a player is performing poorly consistently over, 6-7 games, or if they lose half a yard, or if they go past their sell-by date, we're the first ones to say, get him out. Look at Matty Cash, lovely bloke, and people either defend him blindly or they can't stand him, and it's because he makes mistakes. There's no loyalty there. Like, it is what it is, bar a few very special circumstances, and even players who have given you a club loads of amazing times and generated loads of revenue. Look at Jack Grealish. Look at, he didn't get any loyalty from us. We didn't wish him well and send him on his way. He's got pelters every time he came back to Villa Park, and he's been playing for us since he was 5 years old. Like, I think we kind of need to recognise that for footballers, and this is a very pessimistic way of thinking about it and a very cynical way of thinking about it, but for footballers, this is their job. This is their job, and I've never seen a player leave or force through a move for less money, unless they were going to go to a more competitive team. And if they were going to a less competitive team, I've never seen anyone force a move for less money. It's a job. They have a very, very short career. It's 10 years of making real significant money, 15 years if you're lucky. Like, even if Martinez said, you know what, actually, I want to go to Man United and I want to earn 250 grand a week and be a goalkeeper at arguably the biggest team in England and one of the biggest teams in the world. Like, yeah, I don't like it because he's achieved a lot here, but why are we so hurt about it? Why do we feel so betrayed? We didn't walk in on him sleeping with our wives or husbands or whatever it is. Like, I think we're very sensitive, not Villa fans, but football fans in general.
Well, look at what Newcastle. I had a proper argument with all my Newcastle mates about Isak, and I was like, why do you like care so much? Like, he's just leaving. Like, I don't understand. Like, if he wasn't playing, like you said, if he wasn't playing very well, or if Liverpool had have offered £150 million right at the start, then you'd have gone, all right, mate, see you later, off you go. Like.
But this is the thing, he's moving.
And then Wissa went on strike at Brentford, and they're like, "Oh yeah, come on, mate, we love you. You're brilliant." And he did exactly the same as what
I put a tweet out on that as well. I was like, "Why is it okay for Isak to force a remove and sulk and refuse to play and refuse to train. But when Wissa does it, you're like, yeah, that's good. And someone said to me, oh, it's because they had Wissa had an agreement with Brentford. I'm like, that's the same thing Isak is saying. He's saying he had an agreement with the club. Obviously, it wasn't a release clause. Otherwise, Brentford couldn't have said no. So I don't get it. I don't understand.
I also thought about the Coutinho thing. Like we were saying, oh, he's absolutely robbing money. He's robbing the club. Look at the wages he's on and that. But we offered him the contract. He ain't gonna go. All right, mate. I'll give you all the money back.
Yeah, do you know what? And people are talking about like player power and whatever. Look, Isak is going into probably the most hardcore and well bolstered Liverpool side I've seen in my lifetime. They've got an embarrassment of talent in their squad. He's going to get paid significantly more money than he was on at Newcastle, and he's joining the most successful English club and one of the most successful clubs ever. 6-time European Cup winners, and it's a no-brainer. He's not a Newcastle fan? He's not a Geordie. Do you know what I mean? Why would he have any more excessive loyalty? He's come in, he's done well for you, he's bagged you 130 million quid, he's got you out a lot of trouble financially, he's got you into the Champions League, he won you a trophy. Just be satisfied. Just say, fine, it is what it is. We're not happy about it, but good riddance. But people talk. My issue is not that they're annoyed about him leaving, or the same about Emi Martinez wanting to leave. It's about how personally they take it. It's like it's a job for these guys, and they're obligated to they owe their families and they owe themselves to go out and do the best that they can do in their career. They need to succeed and generate, even if they're not succeeding on the pitch, they need to succeed financially off it. And I remember when Oscar went to China and he was getting paid 400 grand a week or something. So a lot of people are, oh, I can't believe he's done that. Huh? You can't believe he's 400 grand a week. Like, anyone in the chat, tell me a completely honest question. You can say no, I won't believe you. But everyone works a job here. If someone said to you, hey, do you want to do the exact same job for double the money? Who says no to that? Who doesn't go? I'd go.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? At the end of the day, my job's a job. I like the people I work with. I've been there a long time. But you offer me double the money, I'm out, mate. I'm gone.
Yeah. But with regards to Martinez, obviously, I think Ange said he was at Bodymoor Heath waiting for this phone call, apparently, from Manchester United. It never materialised apart from potentially discussing a loan deal, which didn't want to do. Are you thinking, right, draw a line under it and just get him back in the team? Do you think the players, would have felt anything? Like I say, I mean, for me, I'm of the opinion of most of the time, like 99.9% of the time, the players aren't bothered. They're just, again, it's a job to them. He's part of the squad, blah, 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 blah. He'll go in the dressing room, say, right, whatever didn't happen, we'll probably give him a bit of banter, but he'll be back in. Is that how you see it?
Yeah, I mean, they'll probably someone will put a picture of Peter Odemwingie up on his locker.
Yeah.
And then he'll move on. I don't think the players care, because at the end of the day, they're all in the same position. Like I say, they understand. They understand better than we do, because this is our passion. This is, Aston Villa is what we love. We look at that badge and, we get heart palpitations and it flutters and we think back to the Champions League lights. And this is everything to us. Like, Aston Villa is everything to us as fans, as the diehards, and they can't feel the same way about it. They can't feel the same way about it because it's their job. The same way probably doctors have to detach themselves, emotionally when they're working on patients, because if they attach themselves so close to, it's going to be difficult.
And do it, yeah.
And it's it doesn't work the other way around. Imagine if they attach themselves so emotionally to a club, and then the club buggers them off and says, "You know what, mate, we're selling you," even though they don't want to go. It is what it is. I think for now, Emi Martinez, he's going to get some stick, and I don't think he was very public about it, so it's hard to call him out and say he shouldn't have done the whole clapping and goodbye thing if he wasn't certain he was going. He's kind of embarrassed himself there, and the crying and whatever, and obviously the reports that he's tried to push through the move is not going to help him indeed. But all it takes is one penalty save, one save like the one against Forest last season, and then he's back. He's got to earn it, right? But
yeah, if we
from a
beat
footballing point of
Everton
view,
and we beat Everton and he keeps a clean sheet and he turns around to the Villa fans and like gives it one of them and says I'm sorry, like or whatever, or points, like
and then
last
he'll go in
season.
January. But at least he's done it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I know, yeah, but like John Duran was all going to West Ham, wasn't he? He was doing the old hammers, the
Oh,
iron sign on Instagram and
one
everything. Then
goal
he
he scored, and
scored.
we loved him again.
Yeah, he scored against West Ham, and he was like that, and we were all like, "Get it!" Like, it doesn't take long for football fans to forgive. Yeah,
This is what
absolutely not.
it's all on the pitch, right? He's got to earn it, and he needs to.
There you are, Stephen. Saves a penalty from Jack.
I
There we
like
go.
that.
That would be
That'd be
amazing.
good. Poor Jack getting penalties.
I know.
And I think that's it. You've got to play him. He's our best option. And I like Bezo, but he's not Emi Martinez, and he's not.
No, absolutely not. No, no, absolutely not. Bobby says, have Villa bought enough? In my opinion, Emery's formations have been way too narrow. Villa is now easy to defend against. I mean, I would say the answer is no, we haven't bought enough, but I think we already know the constraints that we're under, and I would hope that we can maybe reassess in January and see where we are. That's
I
what I
think
would
the
suggest.
better question is, have we bought what we could? Have we spent what we could have spent? Like, have we exhausted that budget? Have we exhausted our options? It's not have we bought enough. It's have we done as much as we could? And we'll never know the answer to that.
We won't know the answer, but if we were offered that Gertruda for a €2.5 million loan fee and we couldn't do that, I would suggest we've pretty much limited to. We've pretty much pushed the transfer budget to the limit.
Have you seen the
without having to sell someone? Actually, I was going to ask you. Sorry, with us paying the wages for Sancho and with us not letting Martinez go, has that affected the wage structure now?
I doubt it, because I don't think that they would have taken Sancho because we've seen Villa move on from players that were like, look at Asensio, we couldn't get it done, we couldn't make the money work, so we let it go, right? And they wouldn't have signed Sancho. Like, at the time that Sancho was signed, we knew that Man United had already signed another keeper.
Yeah.
So true. I don't think they would have done it if they couldn't. But this is the other thing as well. Another thing that only time will tell is has the signing of Sancho or the obligation to buy for Elliott, like, what does that mean for us financially going forward? Have we just put all of our eggs in one basket? Are we depending on Europe? Have the financial powers that be at Villa said to Emery, look, we're going to bring these players in for you, but in return, you have to get Europe. Otherwise, we're going to have to decimate the squad next year. Like, we don't know. It's too much stuff. And I don't know if the club should communicate it better or whether it's not our business. Because we always talk about not wanting to be accountants and this and that. Or, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
We always bemoan the fact that we need to be so involved.
You want the information you want, but you don't want
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they start explaining like basic FFP rules, like, I don't want to be an accountant, mate. I just want to football.
And we were kind of like, we only want the good news, we don't want the bad news, which is always interesting. When we come on with mildly critical points, why aren't you being positive? And it's like I don't know, you just got to call it as you see it. Just moving slightly off topic, and again, just to finish up, I think really, because I think we've discussed everything with the signings, with where we see them fitting, with kind of the situation with Emery, with the club, and we're hoping that after the international break, it'll be a fresh start and we can really kick on. I think the most important thing is that the transfer window is closed, and clubs like Villa, Newcastle, etc., can sort of move on with what they've got. And sort of, draw a line in the sand until it all goes mad again in January. But it will be good to get back to sort of concentrating on the football and really getting settled. But just in general, how are you feeling about the Premier League and football as a product at the moment? I'd be interested to know what your thoughts are. Like, how are you? Are you enjoying football at the minute?
It's a really good question. I think because this is the last one, I was going to ask this earlier on in the pub, but I completely forgot. I wanted to just get an idea of Villa fans and where they think that we are after this transfer window. So just I don't know anyone who wants to
Oh
in the
yeah,
chat.
actually, I did want to ask that question. Yeah, so please
Yeah,
in the chat, yeah, have a
out of
think on that
10,
question that I've asked. But yeah, out of 10, rate the transfer window. And
rate the
while I'm
transfer
doing that,
window. Yeah.
Kev back very soon. I've been messaging him today. He's away at the minute with the summer holidays and with family, but he's back. He's back very soon. He's back
Sorry,
very
Matt, you're
very
gonna have to
soon.
deal with me for a
He's
little
after
bit.
doing me and Sam at the minute. I'm afraid.
Um, I think in answer to your question, am I becoming disillusioned with football? I think it's quite clear that there are barriers to entry for success in football that were not so blatant before. Like these things have always existed, right? You know, the fact that the bigger teams always spend more, but I think a really telling stat was Liverpool spent more this summer on transfers than Burnley have in their whole history ever, and they play in the same league,
Mm.
and that is something that to me is problematic. Not because Liverpool have spent that money, but because if Burnley went and got some super stupid, rich, wealthy owners, they couldn't try to close that gap because of their revenue. It's the same thing with Villa. I don't mind people spending money. I didn't mind Man City spending crazy amounts of money to become competitive when they did, because it's the only way you can do it. And I've said it a million times. A lot of people say, "Oh, money doesn't guarantee success." Yeah, but consistent success you cannot do without it. You can do a Leicester, you can win the Premier League once, and the FA Cup, whatever. But the proof's in the pudding with Leicester. They're playing in the Championship this year. So, in order to be consistently competitive, you need to be able to spend a large amount of money and build your infrastructure and build for the future. Like, look at Man City now; they're an incredibly profitable football club because they've grown their brand. They sell a lot of shirts. Their academy generates stupid amounts of money. They've produced players, like the likes of Jadon Sancho and Cole Palmer and all the rest of it, and they go on to do amazing things. James McAtee's just gone, and these are really incredible. And they've built an infrastructure. I know they still spend a lot of money, but they've managed to build a more sustainable model. And granted, it's 115 charges or whatever it is, but the point is, well, the charges are there because the rules are preventing them from competing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I disagree with it. I think that if Villa's owners want to say, look, there's going to be no debt attached to the club, there's no risk of the club going bust, but we're going to pour some money in here
on us, yeah,
because we want to challenge for the Premier League or we want to challenge in Europe, then we should be able to do that. And I think that the fact that all we have thought about all summer is financial restrictions and honestly, George with the wages, he's like payroll at like a FTSE 100 company. I've never seen anyone talk about wages so much, and he's right though. You have to consider it, and not only that, but you have to temper your emotions and your expectations based on the revenue ratio, and it's not a way to enjoy football. Like, football is supposed to be a working class sport, right? It's just for people to have a beer on Saturday and watch and analyze the game and talk about the sport. But now we all have to talk about finances and we have to compare to this and that. And Newcastle and Villa fans are all jumping in together and saying, "Well, it's not fair. We're not allowed to do this and that." And it's just like, I don't want to be in the league with Newcastle fans. We're supposed to, we're competing for the same spots in Europe. We finished below them on goal difference last year, and here we are all pally against the Premier League. And it's just, the rules are clearly not doing what they were designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they are. Maybe the rules were designed to keep the big and everyone else put them back in their box, because that is the effect of it. And it's just, I haven't enjoyed it. Do I enjoy football? Yes, absolutely. Last year was one of the best seasons of my life.
Yeah.
But do I like everything else that comes with football at the moment? No. And the solution for me is to just take the muzzle off. Let clubs spend, let clubs compete. I know that the Premier League makes more money from Liverpool winning the league than they do from when Leicester won the league. But from a sporting perspective, Leicester winning the league was one of the greatest things to happen in our lifetime. And the fact that the Premier League and the TV money and Jamie Carragher and everyone else is becoming a blocker to that. Like, they have just too much power, and I don't like it. I don't like it, and it's put a massive dampener on our ambitions. And whereas last year we looked like we were onto something great, we looked like we were going to do something special and compete at the highest level. And Villa were back, right? The Giant's awake. The Giant was awake, and then someone's come and put a sedative in our neck and told us to stay down. And that's how it feels.
Yeah, and it's so strange. No, I'll come on to a couple of other points that I've got about football at the moment. But it seems so strange that Aston Villa have been in 3 seasons consecutively in Europe, yet they're kind of being punished for having those 3 consecutive seasons in Europe. And Sunderland and Everton and Crystal Palace and 1 or 2 other clubs can seemingly spend a hell of a lot of money for different reasons, but they haven't been as successful as Aston Villa. And it just seems like you kind of get your wings clipped at a certain point, and you've almost got to, yes, you can get to this level for a couple of seasons. Yes, you might be, it might be Everton and Crystal Palace, or who else? Fulham maybe, or someone like that. It might be their turn to maybe finish in the top 7 or top 6, or dare I say it, the Champions League spot, at some point in the next 2 or 3 years. But then all of a sudden they'll have their wings clipped by UEFA and the PSR rules, because their revenues won't be as high. And then other 3 teams will come up from the Premier League and think, well, sod this, we've got PSR for 3 years. Let's just put all our eggs in one basket. Let's just spend loads of money, because we can do the 100 million over 3 years debt, and then we can gamble on it. And then, you've got those 3 teams like putting loads of money into transfers. Then you've got another 4 or 5 teams in the Premier League that are not able to spend money, yet they've had 3 top 5 or top 6 finishes. The whole thing is just a mess. The whole thing is everyone looking for loopholes of how to get around these rules, and it seems to be like the teams that kind of get into an area of challenging the top 6 all of a sudden can't do it, and then the top 6 will have a season or a summer where they'll just go, right, let's just pick all of the best players from all of those teams and just buy them all. Let's just stockpile them all, and we'll stop those teams from improving anymore. And it just seems to be like that.
I think as well, like Villa have demonstrated, like, we've had massive success on the pitch. Was it quarterfinals of the Conference League, quarterfinals of the Champions League,
semi-finals of the Conference League,
semi-finals of the Conference League. Sorry, lost to Olympiacos, and 4th place, top 4 finish back into Champions League, and narrowly missed out on Champions League again last year, but still got into Europe. And obviously this year we're still in Europe and doing well. And it's like, performances on the pitch have been good and have been generating mass amounts of revenue, but also off the pitch as well. We're selling players hand over fist every year, like our top players as well, like Douglas Luiz and Diaby and Duran and JJ, and the array of other talent that we've sold.
And then you look at the money that we've sold some of the academy players for as well.
Yeah, I mean, no one apart from Chelsea, no one's made more money on academy players in the last few years. We're in a net profit, and it's not enough. And my problem is people will say, Villa, it's a revenue thing. You have to spend according to revenue. But the problem is our revenue has a ceiling, because we're not London based. We are relatively we're not a small club, but we're a smaller fan base. We're not like a holiday destination for tourists to go and, I'm in London, I'm going to go and take in a football game because, and I'll spend a few £100 on that. And that's not going to happen. And the problem is, for us as fans, if Villa want to spend more, they're going to need to generate revenue. And where's that revenue going to come from? It's got to come from us. It has to come from the everyday fan, the fans who were with Villa when we were in the Championship. And it's hard to blame the club. It's hard to say to Emery and Vidigani and Monchi, you need to go out and sign better players. And then when they ask us for £120 a ticket to go and watch Villa play in Europe, we say this is disgusting. Because how do they do? They can't win. They either don't sign the players to spend the money that we want them to, or they they have to raise the prices, and it always falls back on us as fans. Whatever the punishment is, whatever the bonus is, whatever the pros or cons from the out, it always falls on the fans. It's like tax. When the government decides that they need to generate more money, where does it go? It's the taxpayer. We are the taxpayer in this scenario, and they can only generate revenue, obviously, through whatever deals they make. They'll do sponsorship, but there's a ceiling for that. There's only so much that we can earn from it. The rest of it, if they want to generate revenue year on year, it's got to come from us as fans. And so we're being punished from a footballing sense, but also our pocket. And it's is hurting us.
That brings me to my other point, and this is again a general football point. It is so expensive now to go and watch football, and especially if there's 2 or 3, 4, a family of 4 or whatever. And we do keep saying it, and so there's also so much football. Like, is there kind of an oversupply of football? And the demand is kind of dropping, not just for your own club, but just in terms of watching football, just in terms of consuming football, just in terms of, and then is that then affecting the quality? Because I sat and watched that Liverpool Arsenal game. It was so bad. And I know the Newcastle Liverpool game was a good game, but generally, I mean, the Fulham Chelsea game was rubbish. Obviously, the Villa games have been rubbish, but everything is placed. The importance on the 3 points it's always been important, but the hype around every game, the scrutiny around every game, the scrutiny around every moment of every game for managers. We see now the teams go 1-0 up and they just put 11 men behind the ball and just go, right, try and beat me. Is that having like a direct knock on the entertainment factor of football? Then you factor in VAR and how the game is being so sanitized. We then have the cost of it increasing, but in my opinion, the entertainment value and the entertainment level is dropping and dropping and dropping. And I don't know how long that can be sustained. And I just feel like the over officiating, we had this World Club Championship that was throughout the summer. Then we're back into a season. Then we've got this. Then we've got that. We've got Europa League. We've got, it's every day there's football. The cost of it, is that just leading to like an over demand, over saturation, over sanitization, and then an expectation of, because we're paying so much money to watch these games, then the quality isn't, in my opinion, as entertaining as it has been. Is there going to be a situation where the bubble's going to burst, or is that what we're kind of feeling like we're falling out of love with it?
Yeah, 100%. I think I completely agree. By the way, it's the quality of the games that I've watched for the most part this season have been really drab. I watched that Arsenal Liverpool game as well. Wasn't particularly impressed. I watched Bournemouth and Spurs on the Saturday. It was painful. It was like watching paint dry. I watched
Leeds Newcastle on the Saturday night. It was one of the worst games I've ever seen. Yeah,
horrible. Obviously, I think, like you say, that the cost of football now kind of puts a predication that this has got to be worth my money, right? Like, it used to be, football used to be worth your time. But I waste my time watching that. But imagine you go to a game, I'm lucky enough to have a season ticket, but if you don't, you spend 80, 90 quid on a ticket, and then you go up there and the travel's $20, and then you buy a beer at the ground, and the ground, the beer at the ground is like what, £8 each, and then you buy, maybe get your kids some food. You end up spending 150 quid before you've even watched a kick of football, and then you go there and like I was at Newcastle Villa on the opening day of the season. Horrible game, like awful from both sides, and you kind of leave there thinking, oh, this cost me a lot of money. I wish I'd have seen a goal at least. You kind of need something to jump out about, but it's one of those you can't. I don't necessarily agree with the sanitization of the game. I don't dislike VAR. I don't like the way that it's applied. I think it as a concept is right. How many times have we seen decisions like take, for example, Morgan Rogers last year, that goal against Man United. The reason that VAR didn't come in in clutches because he blew the whistle early and we couldn't go to VAR. But that's exactly why VAR was brought in, was to correct those kind of mistakes. And if it had been allowed to go to VAR, then we'd have been 1-0 up with 15 minutes left to play. And who knows what we'd be doing this season, what we'd be talking about. So I don't disagree with VAR. I don't like the way that it's being used. I don't like the way it's being implemented. A lot's been spoken about that Fulham and Chelsea game, that the goal that was disallowed. Was it King? Josh King?
Yeah.
And it's like, don't blame the technology, blame the people. The problem's always been the same. VAR was brought in because referees are morons. But now we've got referees running the VAR. They're still morons. Like, we need to take the referees not out of the picture, but we need something that's independent from referees because they just back their mates. Do you know what I mean? If they don't, there's no independence there, and that's what you need. And so I think the problem is from a football fan's perspective. If you don't support a Liverpool or a Chelsea or a Man City or, even to some extent Arsenal and Spurs, you know that you're swimming against the tide and the system is against you, and ultimately the organisation that your team plays football in doesn't want you to succeed long term, and that is really disillusioning, and it gets to a sense that I saw people have been saying on Twitter, we all said no to the European Super League, but here it is manifested in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And it's true. And it is true. And I don't like to play the victim. I don't like to be like, oh, you love him more than me, like a kid, like a one of five child. But the proof is in the pudding. The proof is there. Like, even look at what UEFA did when we tried to sign that lad from Newcastle. And they're like, oh, you can't do that because then we'll take away the profit from that you got from Jacob Ramsey. And it's like, why are you trying to punish us? And they didn't do the exact same thing for Chelsea when, was it Strasbourg signed Ben Chilwell?
Yeah, they signed Ben Chilwell on a free. Chelsea released him or something. They signed him on a free, and then they sent the player that they had on loan from Chelsea to Swansea on loan or something. It was just crazy.
Like Chelsea, like all of these groups, like Man City's group and Chelsea's group, and they all do these dodgy things and never gets called on. But we can't sell a player to Newcastle and then independently 2 weeks later sign another player without it hitting our revenues. And it's one of those things where it's getting boring. And we were so close to competing and had our legs cut out from under us. And it is. But it's Villa at the end of the day. Like, I don't, I'm not a fan of the Premier League. I'm a fan of Villa, and that's wherever we play our football, and that's tried and tested. Whether it's in the Championship, in the Premier League, in League One,
exactly.
League Two. If it was a Sunday League game, I'd go and watch that as well. So, I wanted, now that the transfer window is over, this is what I'm hoping, is that we can get back to just football. And at the end of the day, if we perform on the pitch, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
If we score 2 goals, 3 goals more than everyone we play, it doesn't matter how many dodgy VAR decisions they put out. We have to try and have this idea that it's all in our hands.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, great chat. Great everyone in the chat getting involved as well. I think we've given an honest account of the signings that we've made, an honest account of the transfer window. I think in everyone's case, we are glad it is over, and we want to get back to football. We want to get back these players back from their international duty, fit and firing and ready to go. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you so much for helping us to hit 6,000 subscribers. It is a massive, massive achievement, and it's all down to you guys for helping support the channel. Please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 10k. We'll be back, or I'll be back with Lions Den latest with Academy AVFC, aka Charlie. We've got loads to talk about there. There's loads of Villa youth players on loan. There's loads of players who've really recently gone out on loan. There's players that have been featuring for the first team. The UEFA Youth League draw's been made, so we'll be back on Thursday night for that. So please look out for that. And then we will be back with football as of next week to talk about Everton coming up. So we'll have match previews. We'll have all the usual shows as well. So stick with the channel. Sam, at Samwise_UTV on Instagram and X, is it? Get following. Follow us at Villa Park Pod. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa.